manifest bias. We will return to the issue of bias herein below. Full stop.
Thank you. Just pause there, Mr. Pillay. Advocate Mpofu.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Yeah. Okay. No, sorry. I didn't want to disturb Mr. Pillay. But Chairperson, really, this is a mighty waste of our time. We can't have a situation where Ms. Bawa brings a judgment, she reads it, then Mr. Pillay reads the same judgment, and we read the judgment yesterday, and we're going to read it again tomorrow for ourselves. I mean, for what practical purpose is that? Apart from the fact that the judgment is an opinion of a court. So if we're going to have a witness here simply to repeat and reread the judgment as if we can read for ourselves, then what's the point of all this?
Okay, I get your question. Thank you. Advocate Bawa.
I would have thought the judgment is binding on everybody and we can have that debate later. Mr. Pillay wished to emphasize certain parts of the judgment and he is doing so. He's entitled to give his evidence as he wants to. When we spend 45 minutes on other stuff, then we don't bother about wasting the committee's time.
So,
I have not recognized you, Advocate Mpofu.
Sorry, Chair.
I want us to proceed. You've just asked a question. The purpose for doing this, it's been explained, and I want us to leave it there and proceed with Mr. Pillay.
So you accept that that's what we must do in this committee. We'll just read judgments.
That's not what.
No, that's what you're saying. You say we must proceed on that basis.
Yeah, no, that's not what we're doing. There's an emphasis on certain paragraphs. So I think, please, let's hold back, Advocate Mpofu.
No, Chair, I'm sorry, Chair. Without any disrespect, Chairperson, I really need, because I don't know where this is going to end. There were 500 pages of this thing. And I'm just telling, if you or Ms. Bawa can tell us what is the value or purpose of what has just happened in the last 10 minutes. Of reading a judgment that we've all read without even saying anything about it. Can't we read? And then just allow it on the basis that because there was an objection earlier, and therefore we must have our time wasted. I mean, that's even more ridiculous.
Thank you, Advocate Mpofu. You have your point recorded, and the point being made is that Advocate Bawa wants to make certain emphasis, and he's leading the witness in that regard. Advocate Bawa?
Can I suggest that if I ask my colleague to, I would get done a lot quicker if we can just refrain from the constant interruptions.
Thank you. Mr. Pillay?
No, this is not an interruption. I'm raising a point. Why do you call it an interruption? I'm raising a point about wasting our time. I'm not going to sit here and listen to 500 pages of reading.
Advocate Mpofu, I don't appreciate you just without even recognizing the chair. I do not appreciate that.
I'm sorry.
Please.
I'm sorry.
Advocate Bawa?
We're open. We're ready to be proven wrong. We have an open mind, as they say in the Weekly Mail case. No, Chair, I'm not even there on the predetermined outcome. I'm simply saying I've raised that issue. It has not been raised. But the more pertinent issue, Chair, that I'm raising is this. I appreciate what Advocate Bawa is saying, and she will tell you, I'm the person who proposed that we start early today. It was my suggestion that we start at 9 because this was all in aid of trying to see if it's possible to finish Mr. Pillay because I know he's overseas and all that. But I'm telling you that I'm not prepared, or rather the public protector is not prepared to accommodate to the extent of unfairness. And I'm simply saying on what has been put to you, the scoping that has been put to you, and Advocate Bawa is right, I have no control, whatever. She might want to ask one question, that's her prerogative. But as far as the cross-examination is concerned, because when she puts those issues, she didn't put them there just for decoration. She put them there because they have relevance to some of the issues that she wants to argue at the end. And I'm simply saying, Chair, that on that basis, it's I don't want to be dramatic, but it's impossible that this witness will finish today. And I'm telling you that as the chair so that you keep that at the back of your mind. Because we're not going to be bulldozed into asking 3 or 4 questions just so that we meet some predetermined timetable in this regard.
Yeah, no, that thank you. The timetable will be determined by the chair. I'm firm on that, and when that time comes and there are problems, we'll always consider that. I have no problem with that. Advocate Bawa, just your last point on the relevance of the pension issue that which is in the affidavit.
It's dealt with in Mr. Pilley's affidavit, and unless I'm going to waste more minutes having this debate, Mr. Mpofu's already taken 15 of my minutes.
Okay.
Chair, I have to react to this, so I'm sorry.
Why
again, for the record, I'm sorry, Chair, just for the record, as I say, I'm not expecting miracles. So what, Chair, it's not an answer to say that somebody put something in their public reaction to the invitation. That just opens a whole new can of worms. Because what that means then, your version, Chair, of events is that you are guided by the motion. And you know our views about that. But now we are going even beyond the motion. Now you are telling us that you are going to also include as relevant to the motion things that came 2 months ago, which never went through past the independent panel report for prima facie filtering, even at a level of pretense. So if that is how this committee is going to run things, then we must be told. Because you can't be told that something is relevant, which was not part of the motion. Your own directives say that something is relevant if it talks to the motion. And I'm simply asking a simple question. Which part of the motion is the pension issue going to talk to? I have no answer to that, except to say that it's part of some public submissions, which we were not consulted about. Nobody told us that they were how to react. We asked whether this will form part of the evidence. I asked you specifically, Chair, in a letter which we wrote to you in May. And we were assured that because we said if there's going to be new evidence that comes as a result of the public inputs, then we need to have audi alteram partem in respect of that. And your response was, no, that's just for public participation. I'm paraphrasing or whatever, but it's not part of the motion. But now we're told that it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I say. I'm putting it on the. I know what's going to happen. I'm just putting it so that I'm never accused one day that we were acquiescing in this unlawful and illegal procedure.
No, thank you, Advocate Mpofu. Just to make the point, yesterday you would have raised certain objections, and they related to certain matters on a different matter, and today you are within your own right raising some objection about the issue of relevance on a different issue. So there is never a one-size-fits-all kind of a ruling. There will never be a one-size-fits-all ruling from the chair. And so I wouldn't want you to invoke any raising issues just for formality's sake. Because we're not there in the way we interact, in the way we're running this process. Two things, because I think you, in your credit, you would have raised these issues up front. We differed in terms of our own directives and terms of reference, but the differing with it does not mean we're going to bulldoze our way. As a committee, as part of the fairness, we've got to listen to the issues that you're raising. as I would have, just two things, as I would have indicated yesterday, let us, in terms of 8.2, see as this committee what the issue of the pension in terms of its relevance would be. And in that sense, I would rule on the provisional determination on the issue, as we also did yesterday, because I think the committee has got to make that assessment and apply its mind, having had what evidence would be laid here. And when we do that, it is not ignoring the points you're raising. And I hope you take it in that spirit. The last point, I am going to ask that I think for the coming witnesses that, as suggested yesterday, both yourself and the evidence leaders, some of these matters must be attended to before. They're not just raised when we start the hearing, because affidavits, the fact that we have a list of witnesses is known by both teams. And both teams know what this witness is going to be focusing on. And I'm asking that be attended to by the two teams, and where there are challenges, I think as a chair, I would come in so that it doesn't come across that one of you is taken by surprise or one of the teams is just ignored in terms of the issues that you are raising. So for us to cure that, I think it will be proper that and it will be better than when you come in and say, we have discussed this, we don't agree, and I'm placing on record, and I would accept that at that particular point. So I would make that request as we go forward. Thank you, Advocate Mpofu. May we proceed, Advocate Bawa?
Thank you.
Just before we proceed, there's Honorable Melder.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. My apology. When Advocate Mpofu just now made his point, he said he do not want to be blamed later that he said this and that and the other because while participating in this illegal and unlawful procedure. Did I hear him correctly?
Yes.
My problem is this. He says it is. Okay, fine. So the point I'm making is that I want Advocate Mpofu to make up his mind. You can't have it both ways, sir. When we started with these proceedings, you said right from the beginning on day one that you respect this procedure, you respect Parliament, and you are participating voluntarily in this procedure. When you put your arguments in front of the Western Cape Provincial Court, the High Court, you also argued that this procedure is unlawful and illegal. Do I understand it correctly that your view is that this procedure is unlawful and illegal, but you are here under protest, or what is your position? You can't have it both ways. And then I just want to say from our side, as my perspective, this procedure is absolutely legal and it's absolutely lawful in terms of the law of the country, in terms of the resolution taken by Parliament, and we cannot accept this kind of slur being thrown at this committee on a Friday morning. Thank you, Chairperson.
Chairperson?
Thank you, Honorable Melder. I'm wanting to proceed. I'll acknowledge you, Advocate Mpofu.
Yeah, I'll be very brief, Chair. No, I think as a member is out of order and they should rule him as such. I've said from day one here that we are participating in this process, but our view is that it is illegal and irrational, and I spent half a day explaining why, and it was debated by this committee, and our presence here was accepted on that basis. So if Honorable Mulder is a judge and he wants to tell us that it's legal, that's his privilege. But I'm just telling you our version, and I know that there was a version, a counter version by other parties in the court case. So it's unhelpful for me to hear Mr. Mulder's judgment on the pending judgment of the High Court. I'm simply telling you where we stand on the issue of legality. And it's not to say something is illegal is not disrespect. If it's illegal, it's illegal. And I'm here. So we're here to participate. and but we have a view about the process, and
Sure.
nobody's going to bully us into their own view.
All right.